traded against Tether USDT run here on the screen. So we can see today is April 16th, 2020, and time marches on in this crazy world, this post-outbreak reality we are all facing. So we're in it together, crypto world. So I want to talk about the halving, the Bitcoin halving event. And it, there have been several others, the Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Satoshi's Vision. People are seemingly disappointed, but I don't really know what they would expect differently. But the Bitcoin halving is a big deal, and a lot of people think that it is overestimated in the impact it's going to have. A lot of people think that it's going to be the greatest thing. So we're less than a month away now, and I'm really excited to kind of look at the days, weeks, months, years of this process and look back and say, oh my gosh, if we only knew what we know now. So a lot of interesting things to look at this. Just for this video, there's going to be several different ones I talk about. I want to cover, I just did an article on PublishOX about stock to flow and just looking at supply and demand and the economic model. And I'm going to look at things as we go along. But for this video, for the halving, I want to look at, pre-halving expectations. Is it going to go sky high? Are we heading for the moon, folks? Is it Lambo time? Or is it going to take a dive and disappoint all expectations, left, right, up, down? Or something in between? And I'm kind of in the all the above camp. I think that every single version of what people expect is going to be a little bit of a disappointment. And that's okay, because over time, over months and years, I don't think it will. But I don't think that we go from pre-halving to $100,000 in the blink of an eye. I just don't think that. I don't think we're even going to see 30 or 40,000. But over time, I think that it is likely. So here's the main way to break things down is the value of a limited supply being 21 million, as long as they don't ever tinker with that. I mean, they could. They really shouldn't. I hope they don't. Is the limited supply of 21 million coins. The fact that a lot of them have been lost in wallets that can't be returned, that a lot of them are being held by whales that are certainly not going to touch it until it goes way up. Others are whales with, at least several thousand Bitcoins that move the market heavily in one direction or another. The supply and demand, stock to flow, speaks to a model where scarcity does actually matter. So really the greatest, the biggest benefit that Bitcoin brings, other than we probably wouldn't have blockchain technology without it, certainly not to this extent, 10 years worth of proving that this thing can go basically without breaking. There's been some really hard lessons along the way, but, we started with something that was worth less than a penny, and it's now worth more than $6,000. In fact, a lot of people are sad that it's only 6,600 right now. So I'm kind of glad to see that being the case. But, will it double, triple, quadruple? Well, okay, 21 million ever to exist means that you don't run into the problem of, when people are starting to see a big value in Bitcoin and it's harder to buy one full Bitcoin, that they are going to keep doing market buys. Which means that, yes, they are going to see more and more and more value and be willing to get in at any cost. And part of what I think is interesting, I'll actually cover the liquidity volume model part of things in a separate video. But the truth of the matter is that if you have an asset that is highly sought after, which Bitcoin is, right now I'm looking at a fairly average, and from the past 2 months, it's below average. 24-hour volume on Binance traded against Tether is around $500 million. Well, that's very average for one place where you can buy Bitcoin in one market pair. $500 million by any measurement is a lot of money. So, I mean, it's a sought after asset. And if you look at the spread, it's jumping between 2 and 3 cents in its spread for something that has 8 digits to choose from, and it's worth 6,600. And, right now it's like between 66.39 and 66.3902. So, the spread is pretty impressive. And I see an $11,000 order, another $11,000 order, 5,000, 2,000, 3,000. Damn money to be had here. So if it's sought after, yes, then even if it's at $20, $30, $40, $50,000, you have people that maybe have gotten in that now have a lot more value. So every time it drops $1, $2, $3, $4, $700, it might be worth it to somebody to buy a fraction of a Bitcoin to get back in. The liquidity makes it to where you can get in and out of positions with 0.5%, 1%, 2% profit, and wait for the next swing to come around. The more years you have after a halving, the more you can accurately predict what it's going to do over a week, what it's going to do over a month. So there's a lot of reasons. If the world don't explode, then the longer this goes on, the more validity there is. So really, the economic model, what makes the halving really interesting is that it is all theoretical economics. We have no example of anything in the history of history that is digitized, technology-based, spread across the entire world on computers that are attached to networks, and that you have to have a very specific chip to be able to GPU mine this to bring the transactional value to the block stream, so to the blockchain. So what are the kind of things that could affect the price? Well, the ASIC chips could have a supply chain problem. We could go to war with China, and they could use the fact that they have so much mining to cripple a few $100 billion worth of the economy that's in crypto now, which now involves a lot of banks, which now involves a lot of businesses, which now has infrastructure and huge investments. Things on the other side of the outbreak could have a horrible impact on everything. I think that people liquidating their crypto is probably the last place that they'll want to, because they really are hoping that the last beacon of hope is going to be in their own private choices that they make with their cryptocurrency and their wallets. So there might be a lot more hodling than has happened in previous halvings. Who knows? So 3 main possibilities. It goes way up, it goes way down, it stays exactly the same. No variation of those 3 would surprise me, but I think that we should look at pre-halving, because what is the FUD-FOMO factor? Fear, uncertainty, doubt, or a fear of missing out. What factor are we looking at? I think that people are scared and uncertain about the world, but they are looking from the entertainment and the economical model side. They are looking for Bitcoin to not disappoint. So I could absolutely see a fear of missing out buy-in. But I also know that whales control the majority of the movement on the market. But whether it's models or, thinking of the economic model, if you are looking at the miners, whether their electric bills make it to where they're needing to short their Bitcoin and sell it at market to survive, or whether they are getting into a part of the model where it's profitable and they can hold and let the scarcity build, that's going to have a lot to do with things. So economic pressure, political pressure, let's hope that the corona thing doesn't make us go to war, and then who knows what happens at all. But we've never faced a pandemic, and economic depression, and a very questionable economic restart of society on top of a halving event. And we've never entered a halving when Bitcoin was already worth $6,000 plus. So nobody knows. But I could see there being a little bit of a diminishing, kind of a scare. It drops below 5K, it starts to get a little bit scary. And, that's kind of the preset up for a massive buy-in. And if it does go from 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10, it's probably not going to stop for a little while. But I don't think that it's going to be a natural bull run until we see confidence in the alts as well. And I'm not talking about Ethereum, Litecoin, XRP. Those are going to track with Bitcoin anyway. The small guys are just getting pummeled by the type of whale movement that's happening right now. And I will talk about that in another video. Correlation is kind of my thing. I watch a lot more information about a lot more cryptocurrency than most people would ever devote their lives to. So I'm in a unique position for the time being, virus willing. So it would not surprise me to see a scary sell-off and then a buyback in. And once that buy-in happens, people attribute it to the halving and the news starts to report it. And then it just keeps going up. If you are in right now and you're waiting for your big value and it starts to take a dive, don't fear sell. Unless we are told that, the stable coins are getting banned, which I hope does not happen. But that has been discussed. Unless there is something where people are saying that, Bitcoin failed, the mining's shutting down, and it's valid. Unless there's something to legitimately be afraid about, don't sell ahead of the halving. That's my advice. Hold for the big gains. So the most likely thing that makes sense is that there's a lot of buying out of a fear that it's going to go so high they'll never get in. And then there's a lull. People very disappointed that the value didn't go crazy. And that's just not understanding that the model doesn't immediately shift. It shifts over weeks and months. And that's to say that if the things that have happened in the past have even actually been about the economic model at all. We really don't know. We can look at whale movement. We can look at transfers. We can look at manipulation and a million different things. And the truth is that after each halving, that same year has been the biggest growth. And the 2 years or so in between has been when we've seen like the 2018 drop, the 2019 drop. Those were not such hot times. But so here's the pickup game. And, there's accumulation and there's the boom. So be expecting anything. Anything could happen. Most of the anything probably will happen. But if it goes shooting down and doesn't recover well, it really wouldn't surprise me. If it goes shooting up and it recovers beautifully, it wouldn't surprise me. I think it'll be a combination of we're going to be sad and scared at a sell-off that happens over the next month. And then when it recovers, it's going to go zooming. But I think that when reality sets in, we might be looking at somewhere around exactly the same price, maybe in the 7s, maybe in the 4s. And that is probably going to take months for it to do anything interesting. But once it picks up pace, we're going to know what the world is like and whether businesses we thought would be around are no longer around, whether the ASIC chips are available for people to do proper mining. We're going to know how that stabilizes. We're going to know whether things are tense with China or not. And so over the months, the ability for the halving to do something natural is much more likely. So expect the unexpected. Expect it to go way up. Expect it to go way down. Expect it to stay exactly where it is right now. And use the other videos that I do about the correlation, about the movement of the market, and learning how to trade. Put these things together so that you get a bigger picture of what all this stuff is about. Learning crypto and expect crypto to be crypto. I hope that you find these things helpful, useful, interesting. Let's interact. Let's all work together to build a better crypto world, a better community. I would love to be connecting with others that see themselves as crypto enthusiasts or experts to talk about this stuff, to have lengthy, interesting discussions. So hopefully that's the direction of things if the virus don't get me first. All right. Love you guys. Thank you for being the cool, supportive community that is the crypto world. And for now, Crypto Gordon Freeman out.